Back here on Earth, an archaeological dig is taking place near Sioux City's Gordon Drive viaduct.
That project is part of determining what the future holds for a new viaduct. An average of about 20,000 vehicles cross the Gordon Drive viaduct each day. And the wear and tear in the structure that was originally built in the 1930s is getting more costly, and the load capacity is limited. We're on the east side of the Gordon Drive viaduct near Mosak's Furniture, and behind me are archaeologists from Tallgrass Archaeology in Iowa City, digging into the past of this community.
Is it important? Is it something we need to avoid? And that's the process we're at right now.
This is year 2 of an archaeological study designed to make sure no cultural resources, like a Native American site or graves, are disturbed by progress, like a new viaduct that could be built south of the current one, or a series of smaller bridges that could lead into the old stockyards and spur development there. Justin Moe, who's overseeing this project, says it's rare a site like this ever leads to stopping a project.
While the DOT is planning how to expand and build something, they take all this into account, and this is completely done before they even start building.
It's more about learning who were the people who lived here and more likely worked in the stockyards around the early 1900s.
You know, the artifacts we're finding can tell us who they were as a people, what they were doing, how they helped impact the history of Sioux City.
One of the hot spots for artifacts found here is an old privy or wooden outhouse that may have also served as a garbage pit, with discoveries including old bottles, even dishware.
It's a great town, great history. We can just add a little bit to it to understand, how it became what it is.
In Sioux City, Larry Wentz, KTIV News.